Hey, this is Vu, and today I'm going to talk about how to win on T Side Overpass. And this isn't necessarily the most comfortable map to play on a T Side because most of the engagements aren't particularly favorable. When you look at a map like Inferno or Dust 2, you can get some pretty good 50-50 or better engagements most of the time. But when you look at this map, generally the CTs have pretty solid advantages because there are so many angles you have to be peeking into at once. You're mostly going to be finding that professional teams will focus on an A side default, running something like a 3-1-1 with one connector, one holding B, or a 2-2-1 with two connector and again one holding B. And very often they'll make their way through long side bathrooms. What usually utility is thrown is something like a smoke in towards front bathrooms, as well as a molly that can be landed towards divider by aiming it about right there and taking a step forward as you throw. Should molly off divider and push back any oppers that want to be playing this angle here. From there, you can either make your way over long and use that as, cover to push them back off bathrooms and you make your way in through lockers, which is a very nice way to do it. Or, especially for solo queue, I think it's very effective if you make your way through middle. Now, you need to have some teammates that are capable of clearing out connector, but if they do so, it's tough for these players to stay in front bathrooms, especially if the connector player throws a flash like that bounces off and will catch any opper trying to hold this angle back here, which is just about the only angle that can be used to actually hold on to bathrooms later on in the round. Once you get bathrooms control, then you are in a position where you can do just about anything. You can have an opper come over, post up on that jump spot or post up on the side of dice. You can go back over towards short B here, toss a flash like this if you want and try and retake short B off of that. You can definitely make your way out through monster as well. You really have just about any option in the bag once you get bathrooms control. But again, bathrooms control is the dangerous position to take control of, and very often you will have a lot of contest in this area that you need to simply win gunfights or trade frag in. So playing with a team or playing with organized teammates or just decent teammates that are willing to trade for you is imperative to actually winning on this map, unless you're just hard carrying and winning every gunfight. As for taking control of connector, there's quite a few ways that it can be done. One of the most common ways to do it, if you're solo especially, is to toss a molly like that. That molly is going to push them back off of the original push and allow you to get close up here, and we have to assume the door is closed. Once you get close up, again, things do get a bit uncomfortable. There's so many angles you have to clear, this one included, as well as besides stairs, or behind the stairs rather, and on the mid-stairs angle here, and you have to clear all of these essentially at the same time. However, you can make your way up, try and clear this, and then spin back and clear the other, or the safer way to do this would be with two players, where the first one can toss a molly if he'd so choose, and the second player can make his way up and toss a molly like this. And a molly like that will clear out both the corner here as well as the corner of stairs. It's really a very lenient molly. As long as it lands, decently, it's going to clear out both of these angles. And from there, the only angle you have to worry about is here, and connector is essentially under your control. You can also do this as a solo player, but you do it without that initial molly by coming back over here and holding this angle here. This is a very passive angle to be holding, and you will end up fully baiting any teammates that happen to be in short B. However, if you hold an angle like this, if an opper peeks out, you're simply dead, and it's not a very advantageous engagement even if riflers are peeking into you. So connector, definitely a very dangerous angle and can be dealt with by, a well-timed flash from a CT like that, but it's an area that you have to take control of, and you have to be able to win those gunfights when necessary. On the B side, usually you have your B player toss a molly towards short, something like this. This is again a 128 tick molly that will land towards short B. If you want to throw the same Molotov on 64 tick, you can come to this spot and just aim a little bit higher on the B as you jump through. You can throw a molly like that, come over, you can potentially even spam down to try and spray people that are making their way through short B like that, and then you end up holding the B push here. Now, of course, in matchmaking, this is not very comfortable. You probably don't really want to be holding so passively in matchmaking. You can also, with that molly, try and make your way over to short and clear these angles angles as well. Potentially toss a flash off the ground here to allow yourself to peek out and clear out spots. And especially, again, in matchmaking, it's less likely they're going to be mollying off short tunnel here, which means you can get a lot more control and you can be a lot more comfortable without having to waste your smoke on this angle here. Now, that's just a general way to run a default on this map. There's plenty of other things that you can be doing that will give you plenty of success. One of my favorite things to do on this map, if we're looking for a B hit, is the molly flash combination, with which my teammates can essentially take B without my help. And the molly flash combination I'm looking at is walk down here. I'm aiming just above this pole up until here, and that will actually molly towards barrels. If you throw it deep enough, actually, you have to walk, I guess, a little bit further than I did there. That's going to molly towards barrels for you. Off of that, you can come over to this corner here and toss 2 flashes like this. And this will essentially give your team a very, very beneficial route into the B bomb site. There's flashes landing behind them. The most dangerous angle on the map, essentially, is taken out of position or out of commission. And your teammates, all they have to do is make their way in, toss a smoke on the molly that's coming around, and swing out wide. This is certainly a utility set you can use to essentially gift your team a positive entry into the B bomb site that they likely otherwise would not have. And although you won't be part of this push, you can still put your team in a great spot. The other thing about these 2 flashes is they're pretty lenient. As long as you're tossing it over to the right side here, it's not too easy to get things wrong unless you somehow throw it so high it hits the roof. These will land behind your teammates, blind most of the people in the bomb site. The other thing you can do that's a little bit more risky is you can throw flashes that land to the right of the pillar, to the left of the pillar. A flash like that. And a flash like this, if you throw it correctly, again, is going to land deep enough that it doesn't blind your teammates, but it blinds your opponents. So if you throw it like this, you'll see that it lands behind the pillar as far as your team is concerned. However, if someone is on the railing there or on the ramp there, if they're towards heaven, if they're towards backside, it is going to full blind them. So a flash like that can be extremely effective if you're confident with it and your team knows what's up. But this is something that, you know, a lot of the time when you're looking at a matchmaking or just any pug game, you don't necessarily want to be throwing because you always have that one guy that's an absolute maniac running around the left side of the bomb site, and he's going to complain when he dies. It's just something that is almost inevitable. Now, the only other thing I'd keep in mind on this map is that you don't necessarily need to be running an A-side default. An A-side default is very strong and certainly something that I think most teams should be running, but if it's not working out for you, again, especially if you're in a pug, you can be throwing a molly towards short B there, coming out towards short B with a couple of players and one holding back. So you can run like a 1-1-3. One guy controls connector, one guy controls A, and you have the bulk of your attack on this B side, a flash over from a player back here, allowing these players to take short B control, and you use 2 to get short B control. Then once you get short B control, you can use that control to get 3 people contesting towards con, the 2 short players and the 1 con player, and then use connector control to take control of bathrooms. This works extremely well against teams or players that don't go for aggressive fountain control. However, if they do go for aggressive fountain control, this becomes quite awkward, and getting your way up connector is not very easy to do if someone could be in party and peek out on you at any moment just to kill you. So certainly when you're playing against strong opponents, this is something that isn't necessarily the greatest, but if you're playing against weaker opponents in general, it's going to give you pretty good results. The only other things you should definitely know if you're playing Overpass are smokes like this that will land towards heaven. One can be thrown from there if you need it. Another one can be thrown from over here as well, I believe, like this. Smokes towards bridge that can be thrown like this. And mollies towards barrels that can be thrown like this as well. Pretty much anything can be used as a molly towards barrels as long as you throw it generally in the right direction. On top of that, the final thing you really want to understand when taking the B bomb site especially is the importance of controlling pit. Pit is something that people in teams have really understood is incredibly important. However, people in pugs often will allow a counter-terrorist to kind of sit in this angle here or just generally control pit and not deal with them. In general, If a CT is allowed to survive in pit, they can throw mollies like that, but more importantly, they can essentially guarantee a retake. For the T's to have a decent after plan on the B site, they need pit control by all means, or the retake will be nearly impossible to defend. You need that pressure on the CTs, forcing them to clear out all of these uncomfortable angles close up, rather than just knowing those are clear and pushing in on those back site angles that are easy to deal with. The same thing goes for A. On A side, it's a little bit easier. Certainly you don't need backside control, but your actual ability to hold the afterplan is seriously bolstered if you get control of truck, if you get control of, deep towards jump up, all of these angles here, instead of just doing something like tossing a smoke down and trying to plant in the smoke or something like that, which is not necessarily something you'll see all that often, but certainly is an old school way to take control of the bomb site that does work, but isn't nearly as easy to hold in an afterplan. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope this helped.